ArcGIS platform is composed of ArcGIS Enterprise, ArcGIS Desktop, ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Apps, ArcGIS for developers. We'll go through this ArcGIS Desktop version. Okay. Now these are the components: ArcCatalog, ArcMap, ArcToolbox, ArcScene, and ArcGlobe. For any application, if you are doing any special problem solving, so you have to consider this ArcCatalog, ArcMap, and ArcToolbox. These three are must. And for display purpose, you have to go through this. You have to display your data set. You can display your data set in 3D environment. For that, this ArcScene and ArcGlobe is used. And the current version of ArcGIS is ArcGIS Pro, which is all-in-one with sharing capability. Also, you can publish. Suppose you are created you generated your output, so you can publish that on web. So all the capabilities are there in case of ArcGIS Pro. So what is ArcCatalog? ArcCatalog is for database creation and database management. And as a GIS is considered as decision-making tool, and it can be analogous to any conventional DSS. So this can be considered as DSS, this DBMS part or database management subsystem part of component of any conventional DSS. Now this ArcToolbox, it is a collection of functions or processes which you can perform on your spatial data. So it is collection of models. You can say it is collection of models. So this is analogous to your model-based management subsystem of any DSS. Then the third component of any DSS is ArcMap, this your user interface. Here in this case, graphical user interface of ArcGIS software is ArcMap. If you have to input some data, if you have to display the output, you have to go in ArcMap. It is your graphical user interface of current version of ArcGIS. See, the original ArcInfo software, in that time, the user interface was not graphical. You have to enter the commands. That was partly command based and partly it was menu driven. Okay. So what was the requirement? You should know how to enter and you should know how to exit. And in between, you have to explore the things. So next, we are having how to start with this ArcGIS software. Everything we have to do or we should do with GeoDatabase. You can also use SafeFile, but SafeFile is non-topological. And your aim is to perform spatial analysis. That is why it is advisable to always use this GeoDatabase. You have to create your dataset, vector dataset in GeoDatabase. You have to store your raster dataset also in GeoDatabase. It is a container where raster, vector, tabular information, everything is contained at a single place, okay, in tabular form. That is why this, due to this GeoDatabase, there is no slash in between Arc and GIS, which was there in case of ArcInfo. ArcInfo was written as Arc/info because Arc part was dealing with spatial. It was dealing with spatial software, other software, specific software with and stored at a separate place. Whereas info part, it was dealing with this DBMS and it is stored at a separate place. The info folder was there where all attribute information was stored. So here in case of ArcGIS, there is no such division, means both are stored at a single place in a single table. So that is why there is no slash. It is stored in relational database management system and some features of object oriented also. It is there in case of this GeoDatabase. Now today we'll go for this example, a small example of spatial problem solving, which you will solve in ArcGIS software. The problem definition is there is a hospital in Rania administrative block of Khunti district. Khunti is in Jharkhand. Earlier it was part of Ranchi only. So as per government norms, there is a hospital in Khunti this Rania block, and government is having norm that that particular order of hospital. See, in rural area there are different norms and different hierarchy of hospitals, starting with clinics, then dispensary, then your sub centers, then your primary health center, community health center. Okay, so this particular hospital is capable of serving 5,000 people in a distance of 5 kilometers. So you have to find out, being a spatial analyst, you have to find out whether this particular hospital is sufficient to cater the needs of the population, or there is a requirement of additional hospital. This is the small spatial problem. See, you can solve complex spatial problem. You have to use so many tools. You have to generate different layers, maybe raster or vector. So this particular problem we will solve with vector data model. Okay. Now on the screen, Rania block is visible, and there is a hospital location. See, let me introduce with ArcGIS software. This is your Arc catalog. Okay, this is your Arc catalog. This is for database creation and database management. If you have to create data, so you have to use this Arc catalog. Then the Arc map, which is visible on the screen, this is your graphical user interface of ArcGIS. Our department is having ArcGIS 10.8 version, and this one is your Arc toolbox. This is basically collection of all sort of models or processes or functions which can be used to solve spatial problem. And if you are finding that these models, these tools or these functions are not suitable to solve your problem, so you can design your own also. And for that, this model builder is there. You can create your own model. So now we will first try to solve this problem in a step-by-step manner, and then we will create a model for that. Okay. So this is your Rania block. Let me change the icon here. See, for every spatial data, you are having associated attribute table, because in the back end of any GIS software, one DBMS is running, and that too this relational database management system. Okay. In relational database management system, every feature is or every entity is stored in tabular form. And see, here it is a table, and there are 67 entries, 67 rows in this table. So means there are this particular layer is village boundary layer of Rania administrative block of Khunti district. Okay. So now suppose I'm clicking this one. So this is one feature, one village. It is highlighted on the map. Okay. On the screen it is highlighted with cyan color. So this is one feature, and it is part of Rania village boundary layer. Okay. This is the difference between feature and layer. Now, in this table, this is the base table. Oh, it is, data is joined here. Let me use another file where there is no data. In all these layers, I think it is joined. See, suppose your village layer does not contain your census data, okay, and your requirement is population coverage. So how to get the population data? Population data you can get from Census of India. And again, in case of census data, there are two different types of data set. One is your primary census abstract and another is your village and town directory. Suppose the requirement is only for your demographic details, means your SC/ST population, total population, child population, and your workers. Then you can go for primary census abstract. Otherwise, you can go for, if you are interested in finding out what are the amenities which are there. So in that case, you should go for your village and town directory. It contains your all the amenities like irrigation facility, educational facility, medical facility, drinking water facility, which are available in rural area as well as urban area. In urban area means there are different wards for urban agglomeration or municipal corporation. So for that also you are having those information in census data. So right now, suppose your data set right now it is this data set is already having all those information, but up to your SC/ST population only. But suppose I'm opening this census data, it is a census of 2001, and the recent census which we are having is 2011, and after that this year is also, this is census year 21. So in this census data set, we are also having details, other fields which are there, total worker, non-workers, literates, everything is there, marginal workers. So now we have to link this spatial and non-spatial. So how to link? In this layer, see, this information of workers, those are not available, marginal workers and all that, but we are requiring those information also, suppose. So how to do that? In that case, you can go for join. You have to select the common field. See, let me tell you that this joining spatial and non-spatial is possible due to one of the property of relational database management system. See, in case of relational database management system, different tables can be related using primary key and foreign key concept. Okay, if two tables are having same common field, so the same common field in the parent table, it is termed as primary key, and the same common field in the child table, it is termed as foreign key. So because GIS is based on relational database management system, means it is one DBMS relational database management system is backing this GIS software. That is why this property is there, this capability of linking spatial and non-spatial, because here two tables are linked now. One attribute table of your spatial data and another your census data. Suppose you have performed a field survey. Okay, you have performed field survey using some handheld device. You have collected spectral reflectance for certain points. So you have to, and those things you have entered in your Excel sheet, means non-spatial data set. So you have to link those spatial and non-spatial in GIS environment. So how to link? Using this join command. Okay. So same field name should be same for both the tables. ये ले जाइए हरदर जी, नहीं लूंगी, ये रहने दीजिए, ये ले जाइए. And now I'm opening the table. Now it is having all workers, marginal workers, everything. Okay. So this is temporary join. If you have to make the join permanent, so you have to go to data, then export data. See, right now by default it is taking save file, okay, because I'm saving in a particular folder. This is run your census, and here it is. Everything is there permanently joined with this table. And here we can remove all joins. Okay. So now these information are not available with this village layer. See, we are going to solve a spatial problem. That small spatial problem means we have to find out this is the hospital of particular order. We have to find out whether this particular hospital is sufficient enough to cater the needs of the surrounding population based on population and distance norm of the government. Okay. So these are the data sets, but already created data set I have used. But what you have to do? You have to start from the scratch. Okay. You have, for generating the data set, suppose for village boundary map, you have to consult since hard copy of census handbook. Okay. Hard copy of census handbook, you are having that this admin boundary maps with locational information, means latitude, longitude information. Then you have to scan that hard copy map. After scanning, the format will be raster. You have to geofence that raster. So what is geofencing? Geofencing is the process by which you can assign real world coordinate to the spatial data set. Either it is vector or raster. So in current version of ArcGIS, earlier with ArcInfo, we can create a vector in the form of coverage, and it was very easy to geofence that coverage. But nowadays, it is advisable to first geofence your raster and then create vector over that by doing on-screen digitization. Okay. So here I have started with the ready-made data set, but how to georeference, how to provide real-world coordinate to your data set, that also, this is the first step. So let me check how many of you know how to georeference.
इसलिए hello, can you hear me, participants?
Yes, sir.
And Dr. Mealy is also audible. Dr. Mealy's voice is also reaching to you.
No, no, sir. It is not coming anymore.
Yeah, that is why. There is Mealy. नहीं जा रही आवाज तुम्हारी. हाँ. हाँ.
वो मैम होल्ड कर दिया था, उसके बाद कुछ
होल्ड के बाद नहीं आ रही थी क्या आवाज?
अभी मैम होल्ड में है, मैम को.
हाँ मिली. हाँ, she is I think having some trouble. Will join again. She will quit and will join. I think that will facilitate.
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, now it's okay.
Yeah, it's audible, clear.
Okay.
थोड़ा सा कैमरा को नीचे करने से और ज्यादा ठीक लगेगा. कैमरा हाँ ठीक, थोड़ा सा ऊपर हो
जाए. But it is not
setting ना ज्यादा चलेगा बस. No, it is not in the center. Still it's gone down.
My question is, in the participant side, all of you are familiar with georeferencing part, how to georeference dataset in ArcGIS? If yes, then I should not go for that.
You can ask for raise the hand.
Yeah, you can raise the hands if georeferencing part is required to explain. I think all of you know.
Anusha,
yeah, Vanita.
Yeah, some hands are there. Passing through the scan register. Georeferencing is known by Ajinkya Chaudhary, Vanita Pandey, Kaushik Rohidas, Jaypal Ilura.
Okay.
Many don't know it, means you can explain. Time permits.
See, suppose I have added data set, so I'm saving this document. This document can be saved as MXD. Okay. Today is your 17. I'm saving this. This will be saved as MXT as a project file. Okay. Now I'm opening a new ArcMap document. And first of all, this is your see, this is the same raster on which we are going to perform spatial analysis. This is not georeferenced. How we can say that this is not georeferenced? Because in the lower hand side, I should use magnify. Here it is not visible, that lower side, lower right hand corner. It is not. Exit is also not working. Anyone can give the hint how to exit this, because it is not working here, this magnifier. Anyone can give the hint?
Ma'am wants try the escape button.
No, yeah, I'm pressing that one continuously, but it is not going. It is just a minute.
Then just try the full extent.
Yeah, full extent I'm trying. Then also it is not going. Magnifier actually I was trying to use, but it is getting hanged here. The button is also not working. Just wait, okay? All of you, please wait. Some problem I am facing.
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Mealy is having some problem. She will join shortly. Please wait. हैं? नहीं, मेरे को तो दिखा रहा है नेट एक्सेस. Can you hear me, Dr. Swagta? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mealy
Okay.
ma'am most probably accidentally left because it
Yes.
was showing leaving.
Yeah, some network issue.
Okay.
She is trying to connect, but unable actually. Let's see. Find out some way.
Okay, sir.
Just wait, please.
I am very sorry. There was some network issue. I am starting again. This time I will not use magnifier. See, this is the input image, and this type of image you have to get. Suppose you are having in hard copy, so you have to use a scanner. The scanner is the device to convert your analog map, which is in hard copy map, in digital form. Okay. So after conversion from analog to digital, the file format which you get is your raster. Okay. It is termed as raster. It is in pixel form. So right now we are having one raster map of the same study area for which we are going to solve one small spatial problem. So how can we say that this is not georeferenced? Because in the lower right hand side, you are getting some number and it is termed as unknown units. Means right now it is having, it is showing screen coordinates, okay? It is not real world coordinate. To solve any problem, you have to provide real world coordinate to your data set. So right now we should go for this georeferencing this data set. So these are the coordinates, longitude and latitude. Longitudes are your lines, imagery lines, perpendicular, this parallel to your prime meridian, whereas latitudes are imagery lines parallel to your equator. Okay. So always whenever you have to represent the location of a point, you have to represent with xy pair, where x represents longitude and y represents latitude. Okay, because this latitude varies along y-axis, whereas longitude varies along, see, these are longitudes. All these lines, if you join these tick marks, so these are lines, and suppose this is your y-axis, so all these lines are parallel to y-axis, but it is varying along x-axis. All these lines are parallel to y-axis but varies along x-axis. That is why x represents longitude, and y represents latitude in XY coordinate pair. So we are going to georeference this data set because this is a mixed audience. Few of you are not having idea of georeferencing, how to georeference data set. That is why I'm showing this. So let me start afresh. You have to store the coordinate pairs in Excel sheet. I'm already having that Excel sheet. These are the, I have taken only 4 coordinates, okay? Longitude, latitude pair of 4 coordinates. You can have more than that also, okay? So first of all, you have to store the data set in, see, like in mathematics, to solve a problem, you may have different methods, okay? In the same way, here also for georeference this data set, it is one of the method which I am showing. Here it is also showing you how to convert your non-spatial data into spatial form. Suppose you have taken field survey data set, okay, with latitude, longitude information along with so many parameters. You have done household survey, and suppose you are doing vegetation analysis and you have collected this ground truth spectral reflectance of some particular vegetation or tree species, and you have collected data of lat long information of that tree, okay? So suppose you are having your data set in Excel sheet and you want to plot that, you want to convert that data into a spatial one. So how to do that? So this particular exercise of georeferencing your raster data is also covering that portion, okay? So we have already entered the 4 corners, which is also termed as ground control points or GCPs, okay? So first thing which is required for georeferencing a data is your ground control points, which is GCP. Next is you have to add that data set. Go for add XY data. Next thing is you have to provide real world coordinate. So here it is, right now it is showing on the screen, it is unknown coordinate system. So how to provide your real world coordinate? So you have to go to edit. Under that, you have to go for geographic coordinate system, because see, geographic coordinate system is having your measurement unit in degree, having latitude, longitude coordinate pairs. But you can also georeference your data set with projected coordinate system, and those projected coordinate systems are based on 3 types of conventional projection, okay? Under projected coordinate system or map projection coordinate system, polyconic, Lambert's, UTM, those are coming. But whenever you are georeferencing your data set, first time it is advised to provide geographical or geographic coordinate system, GCS, okay? Because we are entering the values of longitude, latitude. See, it is also possible to directly georeference your data set in map projection coordinate system. In that case, you have to use coordinate calculator. That is possible with your ADAS imaging software. Their coordinate calculator is there. You can find out your UTM equivalent or polyconic equivalent of your longitude latitude pairs, okay? So right now here I am selecting geographic coordinate system, and see, apart from coordinate system, we have to select spheroid datum pair also. Spheroid, what is a spheroid? Spheroid is your mathematical approximation of Earth shape, which is defined by your semi-major axis and semi-minor axis. In ellipsoid, it is considered ellipsoid. And whenever we are taking into consideration local undulations also, then it is datum. Okay, so along with coordinate system, we have to take into consideration spheroid datum pair. So here for WGS84, this spheroid datum pair both are same. Okay, but in some cases the spheroid name is different from your datum name. Okay, there are some example. So right now I have selected real world coordinate system at GCS and datum spheroid pair WGS84. Okay, so these 4 points are generated. Okay, so right now these points are not permanent, these are only event points. You have to make it permanent. See, better to create one geodatabase first and then I will save this there only. Let me create one geodatabase because our catalog is for database creation and database management. So under this, let me create new file geodatabase. See, in case of this ArcGIS, there are 3 types of geodatabases: file geodatabase, personal geodatabase, and ArcSDE. Okay, but in our system, we are having only 2, file and personal. ArcSDE is for enterprise business and generally that is used for commercial purposes. Companies are using because that is based on client server mode that is running on that. And for educational purpose, we are having only these licenses so that we can have file and personal only. Separate license is required for ArcSDE. That is the most powerful geodatabase and having more advanced capabilities. But these 3 types of geodatabases vary from each other on certain points. Okay, so one point I want to discuss here: the storage space in case of personal geodatabase, it is 2 GB, whereas for file geodatabase it is 1 TB. Okay, so this is there are other differences also, but this is one of the difference between these 2 geodatabase. Right now I'm creating personal file geodatabase. I'm giving name 17 August. See, it is a container. Now I have created a container. That is why its symbol is also container type. So here we can have feature data set. We can create feature class. We can create tables. Okay, and raster also. So this feature data set is the actual vector. Okay, under this feature data set, we can store different feature classes. See, why it is always advised to go for creation of feature data set? Because suppose in your project you have to collect data set from different organizations. Okay, some in digital form, some in analog form. You have converted everything in digital form. But some data set may have polyconic projection. Some digital data set may have UTM projection. Some may have your GCS. Okay. And what is required? Because your project requirement is you have to have all your data set, all your layers, either raster or vector. See, this feature data set is for vector only. Suppose your project requirement is UTM, but you are having data set, some dense data set in GCS, some road network data set in polyconic, and your contour layer in your UTM, but your final requirement is it should be all should be in UTM. Okay, so what is required? You have to reproject your data set. Those which are in polyconic, you have to reproject that data from polyconic to UTM. Those which are in GCS, you have to convert from your GCS to UTM. So every time you have to reproject those data set. So what is the advantage of this feature data set? Once you create feature data set, you define the projection parameter to your feature data set. So now you can import n number of feature classes under that. All will occupy same projection parameter of that parent feature data set. It might have those are coming from different projection parameter. So no need to reproject again and again. So this is, and this property is coming from object-oriented DBMS, because inheritance property is of object-oriented DBMS. That inheritance means all the feature classes which are there in the feature data set, they are inherent that projection parameter of parent data. Okay. So suppose we are already having this this geodatabase. Directly we can save this as, we can export this as feature class of this geodatabase which we have just created. See here the by default option is save file. Save file is one of the native file format of ArcGIS software, but we can change here file or personal geodatabase feature classes. Then we are having this geodatabase. See, if it is personal geodatabase, then the extension is file extension is .mdb. If it is a file, so extension is .gdb. So now .gdb is visible here. We can save this data set. Here your it is extend. Now you remove this one. Now we are opening. See, your raster should also be in the same container. So I'm importing the raster also. You can import raster in the same container. Now I'm adding. Oh, just a minute. Oh, now it is process is complete. Okay. Now it is giving the message raster to geodatabase has been imported. So now we can add here. See, right now for georeferencing of this raster, you have to attach this georeferencing tool. You right click in the blank space. This georeferencing tool is there. Now you have to go for fit to display. Okay. This extent layer, it is already having 4 corner with longitude latitude pair. Okay, information, those information are already there in the attribute table. In the next step, you just zoom it little bit. Then you go for add control points. The raster which is not georeferenced, first of all, we have to click there. Okay, click here. Then this has to be linked with this point. Again, go to full extent. Zoom it here little bit. Here, this is the point. Again, go for add control points. Just a minute. I have to go for pan first. This is the point. First of all, click this one and then go for this. Go for full extent again. Do this. Here is the third point. See, in case of affine transformation, okay, which is first order polynomial transformation, the requirement of GCPs is only 3, and the fourth is checkpoint. Now, you should notice this fourth point is already coming almost at right place, but a little bit difference is there. This difference, suppose, see, there is one important concept here of RMS error, root mean square error. Okay, so see, here in this case, the actual position is here, the center point of this cross section. Okay, and this point is little bit deviated. So this difference in distance that we can calculate by using quantity geometry rules, x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square total under root. Okay, so this distance you can calculate, and similarly we can calculate this distance after georeferencing for all the 4 corners. So this distance, suppose we term as E1. So E1 is square plus E2 square plus E3 square plus E4 square whole divided by 4, because total number of points here are 4. And if you take over root, so this will give you RMS error. Okay, root mean square error. So it should be always less than half of the pixel size. So always you have to try to provide more number of GCPs. Again, based on the polynomial transformation, if it is first order, then 3 is required, means minimum 4 you can provide. If it is second order, so minimum 6 is required. If it is third order, so you have to provide 10 GCPs, ground control points. So based on the order of polynomial transformation, you have to provide the number of GCP. Suppose you have selected second order polynomial transformation and you have provided only 4. So your data will not be georeferenced. So in ADAS imaging, those functions are more clearly visible, how to provide this, how to change the order of polynomial transformation. Here by default it is first order polynomial transformation. Now we have to link this point with this point. This is your table. These are your spin coordinates, and we have provided real world coordinates. So the error in each point, contribution of each point in overall root mean square error, this is your root mean square error, RMS error. Right now this is in degree. Okay, and for equatorial region you have to multiply this value with 111 to get the kilometer, because 1 degree separation in equatorial region is equivalent to 111 kilometers. Okay, so right now these are in degree, because here we have selected geographic coordinate system and measurement unit is degree. That is why it is in degree. If you want to convert that into meter unit, so you have to multiply with 110 kilometer, and then again multiply with 1 kilometer, 1000 meter. So again you have to multiply. Okay, Now here it is showing first order polynomial transformation. So this transformation is why it is required, because you are transforming your data from screen coordinates to real world coordinate system. So that is why polynomial transformation function you have to use, transformation you have to use. And in this first order polynomial transformation, that is your affine. So there are four processes which are taking place here: rotation, scaling, skewing, and translation. थोड़ी देर बाद अभी चाहिए, भागने का टाइम हो गया. See, if you take more number of GCP, so you can delete. Okay, few of GCPs can be deleted to get less value of this RMS error. This RMS error defines the accuracy of your spatial data, how accurate your data is. It should be always less than equal to half of the pixel size. Now, if you go for finally under georeferencing, you have to go for rectify. If you go for rectify, so here you are finding, you are getting this pixel size. So you can calculate whether your RMS error is the relation between RMS error and pixel size are well within or not. If not, so again you have to take more number of GCP points and you have to delete someone to get less value of RMS error. So here I am saving it again in the Geo database. Just मैंने सॉल्व था क्या प्रॉब्लम जस्ट मैं इसको फास्ट कर रही हूँ. हाँ ओके. Now it is saved. Okay, I am saving this as a document. Georeference 2. This Rania Geo, just now I have georeferenced it. Now it is having coordinates 85, 22 like that. Okay, if you move cursor anywhere, if you go for properties, it is showing your GCS coordinate system and datum WGS84. Okay, so now what you have to do, this is the first step. After getting your hard copy map, you have to scan. After scanning, you have to georeference. After that, you have to do on-screen digitization for conversion of that data into vector form. But for that, again, I am creating one feature, or directly I am creating feature class. Okay, that is your this polygon feature. You can directly import the projection parameter of the existing raster. And then you have to go for editor. Start editing. For that, you have to start digitizing like that. Because these are adjacent polygons, so you have to go for autocomplete polygon. in this way, you have to complete the digitization process to get your data set ready. Okay. Now, up to this, it is clear to you. Means in this way, you have to create point, line, and polygon feature class. Okay. Directly, you can create feature class in a your database, or you can create feature data set. Under that, you have to create different feature classes. Okay. So I'm opening now the folder, the MXD which I had saved for spatial problem solving. Right now, this is the hospital. You have to find out the total population coverage of this hospital, whether within 5 kilometer range, whether it is exceeding the population norm or not. So you have to go for analysis tool. Under analysis, this tool set is particularly for vector data. Okay. So first of all, this buffering we have to perform. It is proximity. Coming under proximity, you have to select this hospital. Linear unit here 5000 meters. Okay. Buffering is your single layer operation. It is feature based as well as layer based, and it is topological vector analysis technique. But now we have got the buffer within 5 kilometer range. Now, how many villages are coming under this buffer region? That we have to find out. For that, we have to do this overlay analysis, and that too, we can go for intersection. Under overlay, intersection is there. Here you have to provide two input data set. One is your hospital buffer and another is your linear census we can have. Give the file name intersect. Now we are having only these villages which are coming under buffer region, and in the attribute table, attributes from both the layers are coming in the final final table of this layer. Okay, intersect layer. So you can open this. This is having all the information, total population. You can go for this total population, and you can take statistics. So here the sum is coming as 17,702, and that too in the year 2001. Okay, so it is far exceeding the norms, population norms. Means there is requirement of additional hospital of this particular order. So you can say now based on the distance norm, you can find out what are the appropriate location or suitable locations. You can use location allocation model here also, which is coming under network analysis to find out the suitable locations and optimum number of your hospitals. Okay, and that location allocation model is also giving you the answer how many villages will be associated with that particular hospital. So in the next step, suppose there is a requirement of new hospitals. So you can go for that network analysis location allocation. That is your multi-objective decision-making tool coming under multi-criteria decision-making analysis. Okay. Now this is, we have done one by one. Okay, step by step process. For whole process, you can go for this model. I have already saved one model. See, for creating the model, what you have to do, I'm going fast little bit. You have to create one toolbox in the geodatabase. See, this model, this toolbox is there. I have created few minutes back. This is the model for solving this complete small spatial problem. Only thing you have to run. Now suppose I have to save this model in different geodatabase. So in that case, you have to go for this. With right click, you have to create new toolbox. You give mod 1 and now you save that in the different under this M1. Okay, so this is saved. You can also export it as a Python script, and later on you can change the Python script if you know the Python coding. Okay, you can also export this as graphics, means you can save it in JPEG format. Now suppose I up to this I have done, and now I have to add few more functions. So what you have to do, you have to just drag and drop here from Arc Toolbox. I'm using ready-made functions which are available in Arc Toolbox. Suppose we have to do some erase function you have to use. So just bring this here, and this is the tool with which you can link here. Because this is the not appropriate tool which should be used here. Data set is input data is not sufficient, but in this way drag and drop you can do. If time permits, then I can create a new model. Sir, what is the status? Now I can take a few queries, okay, up to this. See, here I have given example of simple spatial problem. The problem may be complex, and it may happen that you have to use other data set also, other tools also. Like for raster data, you have to go for spatial analyst tool. There are so many functions are there. For this network analysis, you are having separate toolbox. For linear referencing or dynamic segmentation, separate toolbox is there. Okay, so this toolbox is container of all sorts of functions which you can use for solving your problem. Okay, is there any query up to this? No query? As there is no time, we can provide you this some material tutorials on QGIS. Okay, there are so many YouTube videos and reading materials are available. For QGIS, we will provide you some reading material and some videos important. There are so many, some selected videos we can provide. Okay. So if there is no query, we can stop here. Everything is clear to you, I hope. Or if any query, you can ask me through mail also. If some complex problem you are dealing with, you are facing some problem in some tool, then also you can mail me. My mail ID is simply mili, MILI @vadimesra.ac.in. Okay. Okay, sir. Rathore sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mealy, for conducting a very nice session. This metal FDP explained very well ArcGIS basics, and I hope that participants benefited. Thank you for your patience hearing and for your presence. And we'll meet again tomorrow at 9:30. Tomorrow we are having 3 sessions. The first session is as per the schedule on geospatial modeling for disaster management. That will be taken by Dr. I.C. Das, scientist G in ISRO. And the second session is on art of living or human values. That will be taken by an expert, Mr. Vivek Bansal, who is regularly taking such sessions in different universities and ICT conducted programs. He is consultant for many organizations. And the third session will be on machine learning for satellite data processing. So that will be delivered by Professor Mustafi, who is in BIT Mesra. So I hope that tomorrow also there will be very good sessions and you all will be benefited. And thank you. Good evening. That's to end today's this day. We have successfully completed this day 2 of this FDP, and I hope you are enjoying. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll meet again.
Thank you, sir.